Welcome to Origin to Ambition, the show where we explore the small business entrepreneur's journey in business. I'm your host, Sean Dunne. Let's get into it.
Well, look, I wouldn't suggest that I'm at the forefront of using AI, but I've definitely, in our business, progressed beyond using it as a search engine. And I have to be honest, it's at least delayed by, if not 12 to 24 months, us hiring 2 more people because we don't need them now, which is interesting. And I'm not suggesting we've got it to a level of sophistication that you would understand, but I think, I don't look at it like I'm going to be replaced by AI. I see it as an opportunity to, improve the speed and efficiencies and effectiveness of our business. And I think that's kind of what you're saying, is that you embrace the tool for what it can deliver.
Great. Yeah. And I think it's going to reward businesses that have taken an approach to being lean. Particularly in my industry, there's always been, it's been a bragging point. How many people you hire. So headcount as a bragging point. Yeah. And I really feel for a lot of people now, because they're going to have to figure out how to look after these people when their jobs can be heavily automated. I've always run my business lean, so I feel like I'm being rewarded for that approach.
Yeah, and we're the same. I mean, I came from a previous role where I'm going back a long time now, but it was financial advice. Businesses were built on headcount. How many authorized reps can you get on board? That was the name of the game. It's interesting. I still see some businesses now, I'd say small financial advice businesses, that sort of use it as a bragging right as well. We've got people who want to come and work for us, and that's great. That's admirable, and I'm not suggesting otherwise. But I sort of left, and anyone who knows me knows I was at ING prior to starting my business, and I absolutely loved working for ING. But headcount for me was sort of just something I didn't want in my business from day one. I didn't want to chase headcount at all. If anything, I wanted more admin, not more authorized reps. So, yeah. But now with technology, even the admin, as we're talking about now, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to turn this into an AI chat. It's just that you've got a unique perspective on it outside of what I've got and what some of our guests would potentially have. So that's why I went down that path. Yeah, being lean's to be rewarded these days going forwards, obviously.
Indeed.
Yourself personally, I won't ask about business because I think you've just given us where you want to push your business goals, but what are you working on personally? What goals are you working on for Adrian and his family?
I would say to be present, continue to be present in my daughters' lives. So I can see how much they value that. Well, I'm telling myself that hopefully I'm through that.
They're kind to you.
Yeah. Hopefully they don't turn around as adults and say that wasn't the case. But I think continue to be present, and that's in their personal development, that's in their education, that's in any pursuits that they might have, any interests that they'd like to chase. Continue to enjoy the limited time that we have as a family unit before our kids fly the coop and move on, which is something that is always in the back of my mind. How many summer holidays might we have left together before the kids are too old? So
it's all, the window closes quickly.
It does.
The window of opportunity with your kids, I think. And I think it's sometimes it's good that's a good piece of advice is what you're giving, because I think some people don't realise it.
Yeah, indeed. And just continue to stay active. So I've actually I've always been somewhat active, but it's difficult when you're busy. Now, the diet might suffer, or you might not be active as consistently as you like, but I've started lifting this year with a personal trainer, which has been really great, something different for me. I haven't lifted weight for 25 years.
Yeah.
So I'm doing that and really enjoying it, really enjoying challenging myself physically in a different way. And just continue to be in business. So I've got no desire to flip my business and sell it and go and do something else. I'm enjoying it, enjoying the challenge of it, and It gives my family a lot of options and choice. And so, yeah, look, I think doing more of what we're doing, just better, and making sure we're staying current.
You've got a limited amount of resources and you're trying to extract maximum value out of those resources when you start, because it's not a blank checkbook, so to speak. But what's the value there of what value do you place on building that team around you? And we'll talk about how you might do that. But in terms of, and I don't mean this is not a loaded question about financial advice, but having a business or personal or both financial advisor, the accountant, the solicitor, a mentor, whatever it might be, any range of advisors around you, the value of, I think you alluded to, you would have liked to have had those on board earlier, but is that fair to say that you should probably build a team early?
100%. Yeah. Make sure you're not existing in a bubble. And it's really easy to be so focused on being on the tools and delivering your service, whatever that might be, or selling your product. But you can easily build a bubble around yourself, and you just need to expose yourself to professionals and make sure you're getting advice from all angles as often as you possibly can. And I was probably too afraid of hearing the truth around certain things. So I'd shut that out, put my head in the sand a little bit. And I just hope for the best, hope everything would sort itself out, but it never does. You really need to get that advice sooner rather than later.
Yeah. And I guess too, so any thoughts around, back to that sort of resource, your capacity around resources, and you may not have it. I mean, sometimes in small business, it's the old sweat equity type thing. You've got to just flog away and do a lot of the stuff yourself because you haven't got the money to do it. How do you solve that? And you may not have done it early, and I may not have done it early myself, in business, but how would you recommend or think about solving that problem early? Like you haven't got the money, you can't pay for infinite advice. So
yeah, I would say there's certainly more options available to business owners today than there was in the early 2010s. But I would say speak to people, put yourself out there, build a network, find people who have real experiences and speak to them face to face. I think, yes, you can go to a blog post. Yes, you can read an article. Yes, you might go and quiz a large language model, but you really need to speak to people, I think, to get a real sense of what it is they've experienced to really learn. So I'd say face-to-face advice is what I would give as advice to people starting out.
I think too, and your thoughts on this, I think a lot of us when we start a business don't realise that a lot of other business owners are more than happy to share their knowledge and learning, like, over a coffee or a beer or a lunch or whatever. I don't know, it's not everyone, but you'd be surprised more often than not. If you ask someone for a conversation, you'll get the conversation. Would you agree with that? Yeah.
100%. Yeah. There's most of the time there's a lot of hard work in running your own business, and there's not a lot of accolades that come. And to have somebody wanting to take a bit of time out of their day to learn from your experience it's a nice feeling. So yeah, I would agree. Just ask and find people that have had genuine experiences.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
Sean Dunne here, and thank you for watching this episode of Origin to Ambition, the Entrepreneur's Journey. I'm a financial advisor who specialises in working with small business entrepreneurs and high-income earning executives. We analyse cash flow, build assets, and protect those assets to help our clients do what they want, when they want, with the people that they want to do it with. So if that's of interest to you, head over to our website and book an initial discovery call, and I'd look forward to speaking with you.
As a business owner, what values do you see as being most important, in running a business and in business in general?
Yep. I am a massive, for me, having a good foundation and a good strong value set is incredibly important. Something, a North Star that I can always refer to. So the things that I'm always looking at is great value over great margin, long-term partnerships over transactions, current and accurate advice that's never recycled, and simplification as a discipline in our business. So they're the four key things that I'm always referring to when I'm speaking to a prospect or I'm training a new team member. They're the key values, I would say.
That's also interesting, because I think there's something there that I'm not sure this comes out often, but you've clearly worked at Kongo. You and your wife Alex have worked on, having those values articulated and very clear. So that sounds like a well planned set of a value set. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'm very, very deliberate. It's something that, and we're always challenging them as well. I think a lot of really just the game that we're in, being in a tech industry. What I know today is only going to be a half truth 6 months down the track. So I'm in the habit of always circling back and asking questions of the way we do things and what's important to us. I would say we do question those values, but they've been pretty consistent for a long time. I think they will outlast any changes in technology and probably apply to most businesses.
Yeah, I think some of those, when you've got a high standard and somewhat, sort of saying that you have integrity is pretty traditional sort of value to try and hold to, that they are timeless, I suppose, to a point. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And availability too. So I'm often part of a sales process and then I hand off to a delivery team. But when we always kick off a new project, I'm always saying to our clients, call me anytime. Doesn't matter if it's a Sunday morning. I'm available. So being available, I think it's some old fashioned customer service that I certainly see is rare these days, particularly seeing we're moving towards automating a lot of those go-to-market motions.
Yeah. I think there's also a lesson in what you've just said around, because I think a lot of business owners fall into business sometimes. So sometimes, they take their passion, or I'm not trying to be cliched here, but they take their passion and want to make it into a business, or they just happen to have a skill set and circumstances roll them into being self-employed, and they think, oh, well, I've got a skill set, I'll commercialize it, rather, for want of a better term, or monetize it. But I think sometimes there is a bit of a falling into business, like sort of almost by accident. And I think if you find yourself doing that, it's interesting that you should maybe step back and clearly define your values. So I guess I'm circling back to what you were just talking about, which was you've got a very clearly defined value set, but sometimes that doesn't come early in someone's business journey. And it's probably, I'd be keen, I think you'll agree, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but if we thought about that early in our business journey, it would actually just give you a framework to always sort of have as a fallback. When things get tough, or when you're not sure how to deal with a certain client or customer or patient or whoever it might be, that you can fall back to that. Is that, like, would you advise that, is what I'm saying?
Yes. Oh, indeed. And if it's not always obvious that you need that. With a larger business, you can have a much bigger team and great people around you to guide you. But when you're starting a small boutique business and the resources aren't there, then you don't know what you don't know. And that's where probably we spoke about what I would do differently a little bit earlier in this session. I'd probably stick at it. At uni, I'd probably finish some sort of business degree first as well. That way, if I am going to bootstrap a new business, then I know just a little bit more of maybe the formal framing of what to do and not to do. And I know we're always putting entrepreneurs on a pedestal who've left uni and started a business, but we don't often hear about the difficult things that they encounter on the way to becoming a huge success story. So I would say definitely a formal business education is valuable, and it was something I wish I had done.
And that's all for this episode of Origin to Ambition. Thanks for tuning in. To make sure you don't miss our next conversation, be sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen in. For more information, you can visit us at dominiumcapital.com.au, and we'll see you next time.